Well, thank you very much indeed, George. I've been lucky enough to be at an event with George before. I hope you can hear me at the back, by the way, because last time George actually said that there was somebody sitting in front and said, I can, but I'm very happy to swap with someone who can't. It was also great to hear Alistair's presentation, lots of buzzwords, pimp your listing, and talk to him offline, which some of you might have interpreted as give him a good kicking afterwards. Don't, he's a very, very good man. And this is a great event. You've seen, I trust, on Amanda has arranged this, on the scoreboard, they've actually put the appropriate slide here. I want to talk to you about how this pocket of beautiful countryside and seashore in a small country in the northwestern edge of Europe is possibly going to cope and prosper in the 21st century in tourism. And I'm going to be taking an absolutely global look, and whether you're offering self-catering accommodation, whether you're an attraction, George most certainly is, of course. I hope that it will feel relevant to you, because I think it's important to get the big picture of what is happening in the world so that you can help to manage your future. My future is to continue as I have been, basically, which is going on holiday pretending to work. Here I was having to test some swimming pools that are linked to France. It's another tough day at the office. It got awful. I had to go and taste some beers in the Grand Place in Brussels. I spend as much time as I possibly can pretending to work in Wales, of course, beautiful, beautiful country. And then worst of all, I had to drift around Sydney Harbour, massaged by lovely Nadine while talking nonsense to a BBC camera. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a tough job. Somebody does have to do it. Tough was the word that Amanda very kindly used in her presentation. It is tough out there. And the economy clearly is going to guide what happens to your businesses. And there's lots and lots of uncertainty. The economy for the past 5 years has been plummeting. Year of hell set to get even worse, except, and I don't know if you can see this, if you're in the teeth whitening business, £295 an hour, goodness me. Of course, everyone who drives know that although there was a slight fall in petrol at some petrol stations yesterday, it has got absolutely ridiculous in terms of the rates that people are having to pay. And it's all looking pretty grim. Or is it? Well, in fact, if anybody can remember the olden days, this was 2007, when a pound would buy you €1.52. It would buy you over $2. Well, this morning at the Travel House in Llanelli, I checked, and this is what you will get. So effectively, sterling has slumped by 25%. Terrible for me, because I want to spend my life on holiday pretending to work, very often abroad. Great for you, because the weaker the pound, the better it is for tourism businesses in Carmarthenshire, because you have on your doorstep, of course, your biggest market, the English. The less that they are inclined to go abroad, the better it is for you. And of course, it means that Wales, means that Carmarthenshire, the whole of the UK, is perceived as better value by Americans, by Europeans, and so on. This, of course, used to be a £14 note. It's currently an £18 note. Of course, in some parts of the Eurozone, this is Spain very recently, they are actually managing it by reducing prices in euros. So there we are, that's in Tenerife, Playa Las Americas. Alistair knows it well. George very kindly mentioned Concorde. I'm going to run through the main forms of transport and just tell you what is happening, because this, again, will affect what happens to your business. When are we all going to be flying supersonically? Well, quite possibly not in my lifetime. There is simply no technological fix for the incredibly high price of oil that is involved in flying supersonically. So Concorde will stay as a museum piece. Airfares will continue to rise, partly because the government will help them, bless them, with air passenger duty. Again, that is a good thing for Carmarthenshire in terms of stopping Brits going abroad. It's actually a bad thing because foreigners who come here will find that their tickets are disproportionately higher. Is it going to change? No, it isn't, because if you're the Chancellor, it doesn't matter what make you are, Tory or Labour, you think that air passenger duty is the best tax that's ever been invented. First of all, it costs nothing to collect it. You just say to the airlines, right, this is how you work it out, send us a cheque, pal, and they do. Next, half the people who pay it don't vote here, because of course they're foreigners who may or may not be coming to Carmarthenshire. And then it doesn't actually seem to stop us travelling. British people fly far more than any other European nationality. And that's partly because we are lucky enough to be the home to Europe's two leading airlines. Ryanair, of course, an Irish airline, but its main base is in the UK. Of course, we'll all have our own opinions about low-cost airlines and their various policies to get us to pay for all kinds of services. But I'll tell you what, British Airways is now turning itself into EasyJet. It has started at Gatwick charging people more for checking in bags. They've dressed it up and they said we will charge you less if you don't check in a bag, but it amounts to the same thing. Hand baggage, it's great, isn't it? We all love taking it as much as possible because EasyJet and Ryanair and now British Airways are charging for it. But it gets very, very complicated. There's stuff going on that you need to know about because this is going to affect the propensity of people to fly to the UK. It's also going to affect the propensity to decide that they are going to go to Campania in Spain rather than to Carmarthenshire in Wales. It's all to do with stress. Next January, the European Union is supposed to be relaxing the liquids ban. Hooray! Liquids, aerosols, gels, etc. you won't need now to put in that silly plastic bag, but it'll still be pretty grim experience going through security. However, there's going to be something else which is going on which is going to annoy people even more. At the moment, of course, the reason you pack everything in and take hand luggage is because they're going to charge you to put it in the hold. Now, starting with Wizz Air, and I think soon following with EasyJet and Ryanair, you have to pay extra for carrying your own luggage on board. That I think will be with us within a year. You heard it here first. So, all the more reason to travel by train, as I did this morning, and very pleasant it was too. Let's just have a look at what's happening on the trains, and of course Carmarthenshire, home to one of the great railways, the Heart of Wales line. It's not going to get you anywhere particularly fast, but it is going to be lovely. Were I fortunate enough to live in Carmarthenshire, I might feel just a little bit miffed about successive governments' transport policy in relation to the railways. There we are, lovely Wales. It's if you want to get on a high-speed train, well, as long as you're going directly away from Wales, then that's fine. You can go to Paris or Brussels or Lille, but only if you travel in the opposite direction. Of course, we are getting high speed too. Marvellous thing which is going to make absolutely no difference to anybody who wants to go to Carmarthenshire. You'll notice that the map doesn't even mention Wales, wherever it is. Let's look at the ships, and I was quite genuinely shocked to see in the wake of Costa Concordia, somebody has actually started selling slidey castle things in the shape of the Titanic. Bad taste, I think. The ferries are having a tough old time because of the high price of oil, but generally, I think because they offer such a comfortable product compared with the airlines, they will continue to bring people in, particularly from Ireland. Cruise ships, aren't they marvellous? Well, who knows? I was recently on the Thompson Spirit, which is an interesting experience. I was, in fact, I dressed up exactly the same. And this is very prescient of George, a rumour went around that Simon Cowell was on board. And this is what happened next. So cruising, though, seriously, is a very important part of the overall travel mix. Something that you may not know is that Royal Caribbean is bringing the Oasis of the Seas, one of the 2 largest cruise ships in the world, to the UK. They are only going to fill the 6,000 plus berths on that by cutting their prices, and that is going to become very, very common. And if people are lured away from a land-based holiday in Carmarthenshire, it might be because they are tempted by very, very good prices on cruise ships. But where are people going to be going? Of course, apart from Llanelli. Well, I can tell you, because we've just passed some really interesting milestones. We have seen in 2012 1 billion international journeys being made worldwide for the very first time. The world's population 7 billion, so that means effectively 14% of people are travelling internationally. We've also seen 2.5 billion 2.5 billion flights made. Now, many of those, of course, are domestic, which is why you get that discrepancy. And I've been doing quite a lot of research on your behalf about where people will be going, including last night when Cardiff got promotion. Right, okay, if you can read that, it says he's off to Malaysia. But it is absolutely crucial that South Wales has 2 Premier League teams. It really makes a difference on the world stage. Wherever you are in the world, the English, well, not much longer, pal, the English Premier League is the gold standard in terms of football. You can be in Kathmandu, you can be in Kenya, and they are going to be watching that at some absurd time of the morning in those places, because it is so crucial. And of course, people know Manchester and Liverpool because of the teams, and soon they will know Swansea and Cardiff, and they only have to go a little bit west of those fine cities. So that is very, very good news. And it will do something to counteract the reputation that the British have abroad. This was in Quito, in Ecuador, of all places. I've put this together for you. It's just a snapshot of who goes where on holiday. What I've done, it just takes the main nationality, the predominant nationality of visitors to those countries. So you can see that the French come to England, the English go to Wales and to Scotland and to Ireland, the Spanish go to Portugal, and so on. And it's interesting that the right-hand side of the map is pretty much German territory, if it's possible to say that politely. But it's also going to be the case that increasingly you are going to see it as Russian territory. There are an awful lot of Russians. They're getting rich quick, and they will be particularly heading south into Turkey and Cyprus. Here's something which I just managed to extract last night from Amadeus, the global distribution system. They know how many people have flown where. And this is actually Anglesey Airport. I said I want to know the world's leading international air route. And I was very surprised. Not because it was Cardiff to Anglesey, because it isn't. Sorry, the world's leading, did I say international air route? The world's leading air route. And they kindly told me. And this is one end of it. Anybody recognise it? Ooh. So Shanghai, no. Right, general part of the world. Sorry? No, Beijing, no, again, pretty much rough. Same. It's Seoul in Korea, and that's one end of the biggest air route in the world, the only one with 10 million passengers on it. And the other end is, well, you might think that's the Wales Coast Path, but it isn't. Bizarrely, the other end of the world's busiest air route is Jeju Island, which is just off the southern coast of Korea. 10 million people a year fly that route. There's one of the attractions there. It's a lovely place, but it shows you... sorry, I'm coming to this in a moment. It does show you how Asia is so absolutely critical. Another good way to find out where people are going to be going or which parts of the world are going to be most important is to look at the order books for the big plane makers, that's Boeing and Airbus. The world's biggest order for aircraft ever made was made a short time ago by Lion Air of Indonesia. That's Lion Air, not Ryanair. Okay, you've got to get that right, because that's the sort of thing which costs you your job on the radio if you get them mixed up. Lion Air, unfortunately, had a bit of a prang, you may have seen. Luckily, everybody walked away or swam away from it. But they are an Indonesian airline, and they have ordered 500 737s. That's not because they plan to have more episodes like that. It's just that they see there is huge demand to be made. The second biggest order ever is by an airline called Norwegian, which you may not have heard of. I mean, you can probably work out where it comes from. But funnily enough, it is now going global. It's starting flying from Stockholm to Dubai using narrow-bodied planes. This week it starts flying from Gatwick to Malaga. In fact, they're doing very, very good fares. And they have ordered 200 planes because they just said, we think we can, we know where people will be going. I'm going to tell you where they won't be going, because that, I think, will be some help. They won't be going to Egypt, or at least to the main part of Egypt, the Nile Valley. There has been a terrible collapse in tourism there since the uprising began just over 2 years ago. Cyprus, they are staying away because of fears about the problems with the Eurozone. And Tunisia, again, falling rather off the map, partly, funnily enough, because of course the tensions that are going on there politically, but also because the Tunisians refuse to allow the low-cost airlines in. They are protecting their national carrier, and therefore all the people who want to go to North Africa aren't going to Tunisia, they're going to Morocco, where they're saying, come on in, EasyJet and Ryanair. Dubai, of course, 1 million British people go there every year on holiday. Many of them, of course, on Emirates, which is the world's most successful and fastest growing long-haul airline. Lots to see in Dubai, but watch out, because where's this? Istanbul. Very good, you're sharp today. Istanbul is building, previously Dubai said we're building the world's biggest airport. Istanbul is now building the world's biggest airport. And Turkish Airlines, they've been a bit sort of slow in picking it up, but they've realised that actually they can have the same sort of role as Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, etc. All of which is relevant to you, because if they decide that they're going to build up their frequency to Birmingham, if they're going to start flights, wouldn't it be great, into Cardiff? That is going to be very, very good news for you, but it's also going to mean it's easier and cheaper for people to get away from the UK. In fact, a top tip, which I'll stray slightly off the subject, because this will actually help you. If you're going anywhere in in Asia, in Africa and so on, then you will probably do best to book on Turkish Airlines and book a 24-hour stopover in Istanbul, because George Osborne will pay for your hotel. It's true. It works like this. If you are going, say, to Singapore, you're up for £94 in air passenger duty. If you go to Singapore on Turkish Airlines, they've got a perfectly good service, and you stop for 24 hours in Istanbul, suddenly your liability reduces from £94 to £13. So that's £81. If there's a couple of you, that is a good hotel in Istanbul and a night out. My goodness me. The editor said, Simon, I want you to go to the Great Wall. I thought, how fantastic, but he unfortunately just meant the restaurant for lunch. However, I did get there. I got the T-shirt. It's a marvellous thing. How many people have been to the Great Wall? Oh, okay. All right. Hello. Down the back. Very good. Yes. Well, it's very, very popular. So much so that when I was there, I saw they were actually building new bits. So, Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, of course, we know all those bits of China. What we don't know is Chengdu, but we will do soon. Oh, Is that you, George? Oh no, sorry, it's Nancy. We will do, because British Airways is launching flights to Chengdu from September the 9th this year. And that, crucially, of course, will bring people in from southwestern China to Heathrow, which isn't that far from Carmarthenshire. Other geopolitical things that are going on that could affect things. Cuba, marvellous, lovely. How many people have been to Cuba? More than the Great... Oh, yes, 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 much more popular than the Great Wall of China. Lovely, lovely. The rest of you, get there quickly, because, or even though the Castro brothers are hanging on quite miraculously, as they have done for the last 60 or so years, I think will be moving on soon, and I think Barack Obama wants to get some great foreign policy success before he leaves, and that will be to open up Cuba. And guess what? As soon as Americans, 300 million of them, are allowed to go to their nearest, most interesting, cheapest Caribbean island, rather than flying it over to get to more expensive, less interesting places, they will all go there. That will price the Brits and the Canadians and the Brazilians out of the market, but it will also create a vacuum in the rest of the Caribbean, which will have some interesting consequences too. Right, no prizes for guessing what this is, but probably for most of us at the moment, that is all you are going to see, a picture of it, because frankly, if you were lucky enough to go to Australia about 6 years ago, and you went there today, for the same cup of coffee, you would be paying, in sterling terms, twice what you paid before. The very strong commodity sales of China just mean that, of Australia, mostly to China, means that you have got a ridiculous exchange rate relative to sterling, and even when you get there, prices are very, very high. People won't be going to Russia, even though EasyJet have just launched routes from both Gatwick and from Manchester to Moscow, and that's because, as sadly some people have been finding out and telling TripAdvisor and telling me, what they didn't tell you when they flogged you a ticket for £92 to Moscow and back was that it's going to cost you £92 to get a Russian visa, and it's an awful lot trickier to get than an EasyJet ticket. Everyone, and it's not just because Alistair's here, it's because it's true, everyone, when you ask them in surveys, want to go to New Zealand. It's the other side of the world. It looks like this. It's very beautiful. This is Carmarthenshire. It's here, and you can even see it on the copy of this very good free brochure. Which is good, because clearly, if the typical British traveller says, I want to go to New Zealand because it is a beautiful, friendly part of the world, then what could be better than saying, well, no, what you need is to come to Carmarthenshire to get some good Welsh hospitality. This is a pub in Llanelli. Of course, people want to see Britain, but there are also all kinds of preconceptions that you have to help unravel. The fact that it's very expensive, particularly in London, which of course, crucially for you, is the main gateway for the vast majority of travellers from overseas to Britain. We do have some issues with friendliness, and this is, oh, by the way, I should stress that these examples are not in Wales, they're in England, and in this case in Glasgow. If you need some fast food, then it's in Hove in Sussex. We've heard from... Right, okay, Amanda mentioned that she used to work for Goodwood. I went to have a look at Goodwood. Would you believe they couldn't even get top billing on the signpost along with the amenity tip and the crematorium? Watch out for these things. People pay attention to them. And look, oh, Woodhall Spa. The home of the Dam Busters Squadron, fantastic place, beautiful Victorian spa town. Lots of reason to go there, except you wouldn't know it from the welcome sign. All this tells you is that it was the best kept village in 1998, and it's been all downhill from there. And it's twinned with somewhere you've never heard of, which is probably in France. If you're twinned with Las Vegas, which Llanelli isn't yet, then boast about it, otherwise keep quiet or tell people your true strengths. This, I think, sums up for a lot of people how businesses in British tourism are coping. Oh dear. So, of course, these days everybody looks at TripAdvisor when they've got to decide where to go, don't they? Of course they do. Well, no, actually, guidebooks are still very, very important. The very first Lonely Planet book, published 40 years ago this week, across Asia on the cheap. It was easy in those days when there was no information of any kind, and so therefore if you were describing the climate of Bhutan, for instance, well, you didn't have to say, well, of course in the lowlands it's quite monsoonal, but in the higher ground it's very dry for much of the year. All you needed to do was say, like Nepal. However, Lonely Planet has become the most successful guidebook publishers in the world, and last night they had their 40th birthday party, which is why I wasn't able to stay in Carmarthenshire last night, because I was at the Lonely Planet do. Of course, the internet is, as you would have spotted, and Alistair's excellent presentation reminds us, really quite important, because it's open 24 hours a day. Except in Buenos Aires, when it's open 25 hours a day. It is a very, very important source. But we need to work with other things. Okay, so here we have the response to the economic crisis by various players in the tourism business. That's an American travel agency. Again in Glasgow. What are they doing there? Spend loads, please, in South London, which most people would just spend loads to get out. Both Alistair and I live in South London, so we know. That, I think, is a bit of a mixed message. And finally, something which will work. Put a sign outside. If you've got a pub, cold, warm, and then hashtag makes sense. That's the way to use it. I'm now going to tell you about crucial dates that are coming up that are going to have an impact on your business and indeed on your broader lives. This is an artist's impression of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, because at the moment there aren't any of them flying anywhere because of problems with battery fires. However, they will soon start, and that will be crucial for changing the way that that tourism works. So these things are happening next month. Okay, 1st of May. Well, they'll be lucky. Thomson Airways starts flying the Dreamliner. They hope it will probably at least be back in the skies by then. And this is the aircraft which is going to transform the way people fly. It will enable things like tourists to fly from Manchester to Hawaii non-stop. But it will also, hopefully, and this goes actually to the nub of what's happening with the new ownership of Cardiff Airport, because it will change the economics of air travel. It will allow point-to-point journeys which were previously not viable. And with the Welsh Assembly taking over the running of Cardiff Airport, at last you may see some long-haul flights coming in, which will be absolutely crucial. Also next month, 4th of May, the Van Gogh Museum reopens in Amsterdam. Last weekend, the Rijksmuseum reopened. They've been doing quite a lot of closing of their museums. There is actually quite a lot of pent-up demand for people to go to Amsterdam, and so therefore an awful lot of people who are planning a sort of discretionary 2nd or 3rd break may well be going to Holland, I'm afraid, rather than South Wales. And people like me are always after new destinations. This isn't one. Where is it though? It's quite far north. They're not very good with money. Reykjavik, very good, yes, thank you. So, 25th of May, Iceland Air start flying from Reykjavik right across the roof of the world to Anchorage, Alaska. That is the sort of new route which is going to enthuse an awful lot of travellers who want to get to places previously they couldn't. If you're going from Heathrow, if you're going from Manchester, it suddenly halves the length of time of getting to Alaska. Again, that's going to have an impact. Let's move on to 2014. The anniversary of the start of the First World War will be a profound thing all the way through Europe. I think this is the Flanders Fields, of course. But even in local communities, I think it will, this is the church here in Llanelli, it will focus attention on the sacrifices that were made, and I think you need to think whether there's anything that is relevant to your business that you can work on for that. Also next year, Brazil, who like reminding people that they've been quite successful in the World Cup, host the World Cup. Now, this is sort of good and bad, because talking to people in the outbound tourist industry, they tell me that the World Cup is the worst thing in the world for bookings, because it happens in the summer, and it also means that people want to sit around in the pub with their mates rather than going on holiday until the quarterfinals and the penalty shootout, at which point they all, if they're English fans, decide they want to leave the country as quickly as possible, but probably not to Germany. So that is coming up. Be aware of the Brazilian effect. Also, would you believe 2015? It's the 60th anniversary of Disneyland. The very first one in California. Goodness me, none of us were born there. That's extraordinary. Born then, not there. That would be a good thing. But also, much more importantly, it's the Rugby World Cup in, well, kind of England, if you include Cardiff in England again. That is going to be a great event, September, October, of course, and that, I think, will be a really big opportunity to lure people beyond Twickenham, beyond the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff and into Carmarthenshire. The dates are, I think, it's September, October anyway. I won't risk giving you the wrong dates there. 2016, attention back to Brazil, because it's the Rio Olympics. And it would be very interesting to see how the British traveller responds after the success, I think we have to say, of the London Olympics next year. And then the big event, all the way from Charleston on the east coast of the United States, all the way through to Washington State. This is going to be a huge event. 21st of August 2017, a total eclipse is going to sweep all the way across America. Now, what this means for you is that in 4 years' time, you might well find that lots of families who would normally be coming to Wales, and don't you worry, the Americans are going to be hyping this up years ahead, are actually saying, well, look, we always promised ourselves a road trip to America. We are going to go in the middle of the school holidays, we are going to go to America, because it, frankly, is going to be the best eclipse since 1999 in terms of going over large areas of population that are relatively accessible. So beware of that. Things you can be doing in the meantime while you wait for the end of the world. Guidebooks. They are very, very accessible. Of course, it's great to have people saying nice things about you on TripAdvisor. I would contend it's also good having people saying good things about you in guidebooks. And I don't know the extent to which you get in touch with rough guys with Lonely Planet, with footprint guides, and say, hey, we're doing great things here, but here's a case in point. This is in actually the state of Victoria in Australia. And they managed to get the Lonely Planet guide to say, here's a great thing about our restaurant, Teller's Restaurant, is that if you turn up and you tell us a story to Mrs. Teller, then you'll get a 10% discount. And it's fantastic. And all these particularly stingy backpackers turn up and they get lots and lots of business like that. And it's all very good fun, and it doesn't need to be a very good story, I can tell you. Talking of books, there's so many guides to ethical living. And I would be interested, and maybe we can talk about this afterwards. Oh, crikey, lunch is moving on, we've got the Q&As. Everyone wants to give Alistair some useful feedback. So we'll get there soon. I'd be interested to find out how much the environment means to your customers. I suspect it's possibly not as much as they might tell the surveys. Of course, every city worth its salt has its Boris Bites or whatever they are. Here's a really clever thing that I picked up from the Youth Hostels Association. Now, Alistair's a proper celebrity. He gets to open supermarkets and things. All I get to do is reopen youth hostels. And I did one in West London. And I went along and I said, oh, okay. They said, do you want a drink? And I said, oh, that's great. I'll have an orange juice. And they said, you can't. I said, oh, why not? And they said, well, you might not have noticed, but we don't tend to grow oranges yet in the UK, so you can have a nice apple juice from Kent. And that's what I had. And I thought, these people actually mean what they say. They are practicing good behaviour. These people are, I know none of you would do this, but look, it is all too easy if you are an accommodation provider not to look your best. Look at that, that was in Bexhill in Sussex. It would never happen here. Anybody recognise this? In Manchester, what is it? Hotel, yep, which one?
Bar's got Club 23.
The bar, right, okay. So Peter knows what the bar's called. That's interesting. Well, you might think, some people have told me it's called the Hilton. Sorry? That's the name of the tower, but the hotel is actually, well, I thought it was called the Hilton, but I was proved wrong. It's the Hilton. That was like that for 6 weeks. Oh my goodness me. That would never happen in a beautiful, bespoke, boutique hotel. I know that many of you would deliver much better service. I was in Hastings. I went and stayed in the beautiful Zanzibar International Hotel. I found it online, found it on TripAdvisor, in fact. I booked it and sent off I've managed, and of course people can do this, they can go from TripAdvisor, and even if it isn't a paid for listing, then you can find out through other means, the phone number and the website and so on. So I made the booking online, direct, sorry, bookings.com didn't get anything, booking.com didn't get anything from me. And I wrote in the notes bit, which I'm sure you've all got, I wrote, by the way, I'll be arriving at 10:30, here's my mobile phone number just in case you need anything. Bing! Next morning I get an email back, oh how nice, yes, looking forward to seeing you. I thought, oh, it's a really nice personal touch. And then it said, can you tell us what time you're arriving and what your mobile phone number is? So it rather spoilt the effect. Now, here we have something. All accommodation providers should provide ways for people to plug things in. This is the Andaz Hotel in Amsterdam, which does so very well indeed. I cannot believe the number of places I stay in where I feel I should have turned up with a 6-way distribution board for all my devices. The most important thing you can do is provide people enough things to plug in. Very, very important. And also provide connectivity. Wi-Fi is now the default. People assume you can get it. I was sending emails on my train here this morning from Swindon Station, because I know that the train stays there for 3 minutes. You've got time to log on to the cloud for free, send your emails, and then off you go again. It is a really, really important thing. People expect character, they expect charm, but they also expect free Wi-Fi. And just think, an attraction, if you deliver that, people are going to, oh, that's good. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to pick up my messages on my smartphone, and then I'm going to have a cup of tea. It helps with spend. Simple things. Jamie's Italian. This is Bath, of course. Lovely. Really good. Jamie Oliver Italian restaurant there. The only problem is that the restaurant isn't here. It's over here. It's true. Turn the sign round. Make sure that people can find you, for goodness sake. And don't do what Starbucks does. Starbucks actually boasts that we have 87,000 drink combinations. You do not need those. You need one nice cup of coffee. That is all you need, and that's all you need to deliver. So there's going to be shocks to the system that none of us knows about. There is quite possibly going to be a significant flu epidemic. We've had various scares with bird flu, with swine flu and so on, but that is still very much in the government's risk register. And there will be things like Eia Fiatja Jökull. Who would have thought we'd all be able to pronounce that? In case you need any help with it, there's the phonetic spelling. And I bet we can all remember where we were and what effect it had in on the various businesses. It's very interesting. I happened to be in Norway. You didn't need to speak Norwegian to know that things weren't going particularly well. So I flew out as a scheduled passenger on SAS, and I came back as freight on a cargo ship. So things like that will come along and test your skills, your patience and everything else. But remember, this is what I saw on the back of a van. here in South Wales. We'd rather make a friend than a profit. It is tough, as Amanda said. It is all about perseverance and doing your best. And I now would like to welcome back Alistair on to the chairs, and you can ask us some difficult questions, particularly him. Thank you very much.
Right now, maybe you want to bring the seats over a bit so people can get a better shot. I'm very excited.
It's going to be now.
That's Ant on the left. Well, thank you, Simon. That was wonderful. So much better than Simon Cowell, and cheaper. Now, we have a roving microphone, which is at the back there. Sarah's got the microphone at the back. If you would like to ask a question, can I ask you just to reveal who you are, first of all?
Yeah.
And obviously place your question. If you could keep them sort of generic rather than specific about your own particular TripAdvisor problem, that would be useful. Because I know Alistair can't answer those questions anyway, he's not allowed. Okay, so can we go, wee hands up, we'd like to start the ball rolling. Oh, Nikki, right in the front here. You've only got 25 yards to walk. This is Nikki from Mudtrek in Llanelli Mountain.
Hi, thanks. We have currently a Facebook page with lots of recommendations on. We don't currently have a TripAdvisor site yet, but I'm interested in setting one up. But you were talking about the link between Facebook and TripAdvisor, and I'm wondering how we can get those reviews across. Is that possible?
Yes and no. So it's not it's impossible just to import the reviews that you want across, displaying there statically. What we do have is widgets. So in other words, a little bit of code. So you have to go and you have to firstly register for the management center, and then once you're in there, automatically the code for those widgets is generated for you. So you might need to get some technical assistance. I certainly couldn't do it myself, but it should be a cut and paste job, and then that widget will start appearing on your Facebook page, and it will display the 5 or 3 most recent reviews.
So we don't have to ask each of those individuals to repost?
No.
Great.
No, so it will just automatically syndicate
Yeah.
with what's happening on the live site, and it will automatically update itself in real time.
And that's on a standard TripAdvisor site, not a business listing, or does it need to be?
No,
a
that's
business
for everybody.
listing?
Yeah, that's for everybody. And again, it's if you go to the blog, which is TripAdvisor, the number 4 biz is an American abbreviation for business, .wordpress.com. There's actually all of the how-to guides as well, so you can print out a PDF or have a look at it and hopefully help you along. And if you're struggling, again, in the management centre there's a free phone number that you can call and hopefully have a helpful person guide you through it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Alistair. I saw a hand up at the back there. There we go. Sorry, we're making you work here. You'll appreciate lunch.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Heinrich. I have a large house in Carmarthenshire, but I'm here as a visitor. I was contemplating using TripAdvisor. I noticed there's 2 options, either to pay commission or to do annual contribution. Is there any difference depending on how you pay in how your website's treated?
Yeah, so what Sylvia's referring to there is the business listing product, which is the product that I try and sell to large chain hotels. Like most businesses, we make it slightly more expensive for you to pay on a monthly contribution. So you'll end up saving effectively a nominal 20% if you pay the annual subscription up front. Otherwise, the monthly subscription will come off your credit card, and you can stop making that transaction whenever you want if the product's not working for you. So it will be cheaper ultimately to pay 1 annual fee than 12 monthly.
No, I didn't mean that actually. The choice was to pay commission on when your property is actually let.
Okay, sorry. So the business listing product is not a commission-based model. So our booking partners that operate off the site, the likes of Expedia, Booking.com, effectively pay us money for traffic, in turn charge the hotel supplier or the accommodation supplier a commission on that. The business listing product is a one-off fee, you don't pay anything after that. So if someone clicks on the link, there's no commission incurred on that booking. It's just, so it's, if I have a better sales hat on, I'd be saying it's uncapped. You can have as many bookings as you like and pay the one flat fee.
Alistair, I think this lady might be referring to, if I'm correct, the connection with holiday lettings, because that's something that's come up to me recently as well. You know, the connection with TripAdvisor.
Yeah, so Holiday Lettings is a company that is in the TripAdvisor media group, and it is for self-catering properties. And to get on TripAdvisor, you do have to pay an annual subscription with them. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Once you've done that, then I believe you will be displayed on TripAdvisor. So you can't get onto TripAdvisor without having a holiday letting subscription. Unfortunately, I'm afraid.
Or Flipkey, I think, is the other one.
Flipkey, yeah. So they're both companies which are a part of the wider TripAdvisor media group.
But can you get a business listing, or would there not be any?
No, so the business listing product is only available to serviced accommodation providers. So, I mean, hotels and bed and breakfasts, ultimately, inns.
Yeah, there's a question coming up at the back there. Chris, can I, while we're waiting on the microphone going there, can I just bounce this one off the two of you, really? I know Visit Wales are present here, and I'm not trying to put your graders out of a job, but I just wonder how you see the future of grading, quality grading schemes, versus social media review sites. I'll go to you first, Simon.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'd be really interested to get other people's views on it, not Alistair's, because I guess what he would say. But I would say, when I am choosing a place to stay, my absolute gold standard channel is somebody saying, oh, you should go and stay at this beautiful place in Carmarthenshire. Of course, there are many, many more beautiful places in Carmarthenshire. If somebody whose opinion I trust tells me, I will go and stay there. It doesn't matter how many points it's scored, either on TripAdvisor or from Visit Wales' excellent graders. It's just my mate saying, you'll have a great time, it will really suit you and your family. The second strongest recommendation, so silver standard if you like, is if a guidebook, which I trust, which might be the Rough Guide, it might be Lonely Planet, says, we think this is a really good place to stay, then I will know that that is reliable too, because unlike TripAdvisor, you've got somebody there whose job it is to go around and offer subjective views in a way that the Visit Wales standards people cannot do. They can't say, actually, this place has got loads of character and it's really good fun. So I'm afraid I count both TripAdvisor and Visit Wales as kind of bronze standard, I would have to say. But you can give me a good kicking afterwards if you like.
No, so I guess I don't have to be diplomatic. I think there's probably even as much as intergenerational, so I think that not everybody's on TripAdvisor. I think that tourist board ratings are probably more important to certain generations than others. For me, just to add something onto the broader discussion, I think the role of the tourist board also is to help maintain the standard of the industry in the location. And if that helps, then ultimately all the businesses benefit even via TripAdvisor, because generally a good product which has been self-policed internally via the tourist board will get good reviews, and that should be good for business as a result.
Thank you for the diplomacy. I think the microphone is sitting with Chris, so if we can take your question, please, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Hogarth, and we've got a self-catering up in the county. We have to use holiday lettings because we are self-catering. We can't integrate properly or any other way. I was wondering how much influence you have over companies like holiday lettings, because somebody asked how much it costs, and it's a breathtaking amount to go in with them. But there have been problems. They upgraded their site not so long ago, and the problems with the photographs after that was going on and on for months, and we couldn't get any answers from them.
sorry, you're probably not going to get the answer that you want here. Quite happy to take a card off you. Even though I represent the company that owns Holiday Lettings, I don't work for Holiday Lettings, so I can't. I don't even know if they've got a customer services number. Technically, I can't suggest what might be going wrong with those photos. What I can do, if you'd like to give me a card afterwards, I can get someone who's representing Holiday Lettings to call you and hopefully expedite the resolution.
Yeah, they
But-
actually fixed the problem after about 3 months.
Okay.
The problem was that it was going on and on and on, and it was affecting us.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. I apologise on the behalf of Holiday Lettings.
He's just disowned them. There's microphones just handy there, so if you can, I'll come to you in just a second.
Yeah, hello, David Simons from Merlin Cottages. We talk about trust and we talk about working together as a county. But who would you say were our main competitors within the UK? Which other regions would we compete with?
Well, I think you have to look specifically at the Lake District and at the Cornwall and to some extent Devon, and maybe a bit of Pembrokeshire, as the places to which that the relatively high spending British consumer goes to. So the trouble is, and this is, of course, you don't need me to tell you, is that people, I think, still don't understand what Carmarthenshire is. They understand what the Lake District is, they understand what Cornwall is. They do not understand that you've got this kind of miraculous combination of history and scenery and coastal landscapes. And so that is why it's an uphill battle, because they kind of might know Carmarthen, oh, historic town, lovely, but they don't know, for example, that Llanelli is actually the biggest town, if I'm not mistaken, in Carmarthenshire. They probably don't understand the how Llanelli is such a really interesting town from all the points of view that upscale people tend to like, which is lots of individual properties and shops and so on. So it's simply recognition. But to answer your question, it is the very obvious places to which lots of Londoners and people from the West Midlands and from Manchester drive to, even though they might well on the way go past Carmarthenshire, not quite realising what they are speeding past. I think.
We highlighted the problem, but no solution. David.
David Storer from Inner Farm. Of the four, England, Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, which do you find easier to travel in? Do you find Wales difficult to get round as compared with the...
Well, I don't know. Have you ever tried to get to North Wales? You wouldn't start from here. I mean, there's this fantastic train that connects Cardiff with Holyhead in Anglesey, which goes to England at least twice on its way, which kind of shows you the way that the railways in Wales were torn up. Now, of course, thank goodness, it is also the world centre of heritage railways, so there is some good stuff. But in terms of getting around, well, I mean, I make a virtue of it. The Cambrian coastline, for example, which doesn't quite go through Carmarthenshire yet, is about the slowest way you could possibly imagine of getting to Pwllheli. But it's going to get you there eventually, and you get lots of lovely views. Heart of Wales line, to get from Swansea to Shrewsbury, it goes a very interesting route. And again, you're not going to get there anywhere quickly, but it's going to be lovely. So it's kind of a question of saying, well, yeah, we do not have the high-speed arteries that we would like. And of course, it's unfortunate that everything seems to kind of expire at Swansea when you're going west from the London area. But it's good. I mean, Scotland, I would say, has the same problems and the same solutions, which is making the journey part of the experience.
We have about 5 minutes, otherwise we're going to, the lunch will be burning and Amanda will be upset. Is Jan another here? Sorry, I know your face, I just can't put names.
Hi, it's Andrew from Clannakinter Farm.
Correct.
Just a quick question for Alistair, actually. I have a business listing already on TripAdvisor, and I was looking just last night at the mobile upgrade options, but I couldn't actually see how much that costs.
So again, we make it complicated.
Yes,
Why not? So the pricing is based on two things. So this year we divide whichever city or town you're in into a decile, which reflects how much traffic you're getting on the site. So effectively you'll pay more if you're in a decile like London than you will in Llanelli, which I'm probably safe guessing gets a lot less traffic. And then it's based on the number of rooms that your property has as well. So I don't know the rate cut off the top of my head.
So when I click onto that option to mobile upgrade, will it tell me how much it is before I actually go ahead with it? Because it was going to be
That's right, yeah, that's right. But before you do that, let's have a chat to Nia and shave 20% off that for you. So, I mean, what we'll do after this is we'll set up a promotional code, which I don't know what that'll be yet. And then it'll be something like Carmarthenshire Tourism Summit 2013. When you type that in, it will take 20% off the amount that's displayed. So it's a different price depending on the size of your property and your location.
And by the way, just to show you what a dark art this is, last time I checked, the cost of getting the top listing on Google for London Hotel was £10 per click. That is, of course, without having made any bookings at all. That, of course, is on Google, nothing to do with Alistair's excellent company and its many entrails.
Thank you. This gentleman in the front here has had his hand up and just a minute. We'll take another one after this, I think, and then we'll have to call it a day.
Hello, Peter Hurd, infiltrator from Pembrokeshire, sorry to say.
Security.
But very interested in your comment earlier regarding wind turbines and what Carmarthenshire Tourist Association has done in terms of getting statistics and figures in order to make representations on behalf of tourism. My particular interest is that I happen to be chairman of the National Park in Pembrokeshire, and there is a huge threat of proliferation of wind turbines very close to that national park. I am trying to make representations. I would love a copy of your survey. I am trying to stir the tourism industry up in Pembrokeshire to respond in a similar way. Having had 25 years experience of running a hotel myself, I don't now, I know our guests would not be coming back time and time again with the advent of turbines. I am hearing everywhere I look that there is no evidence that wind turbines are actually adversely impacting upon tourism. And I just wondered whether Simon had come across any statistical evidence, what his feelings might be of that, and I would be very interested to hear of it.
Yeah, very good question, and I know that it's an extremely contentious subject, as George explained. And I must say, from a tourist point of view, it makes not the slightest difference. You can go to various parts of the world, to Denmark, for instance, which is fortunately very, very flat and has very, very high winds most of the time, and the whole place is one big wind farm. And I don't think that stops people going there. The Outer Hebrides in Scotland are having a big debate about whether they should get Europe's biggest wind farm, and how terribly it would destroy the landscape. All industries are messy. Tourism, particularly tourism, small-scale tourism of the sort mostly practiced in Carmarthenshire, is an awful lot less messy than many industries, but power generation is particularly messy. And frankly, if I'm just looking at the row of hills there on the horizon, if that had half a dozen wind turbines, I think, that's a good idea. They're quite smart around here. But that might just mean that you're going to give me a good cooking when you've got bored with giving Alistair a good cooking. So there we are.
give you a good kicking now. Well, I won't give that information to you, but you're right. The problem is it's very difficult when you're fighting against multinational companies who have got huge amounts of money, are given subsidies, giving money from the government, from Europe, to actually put together their plans and expose their side of the story. And of course, as a community, in many of these communities, businesses are not strong. Turnover is not great. A 10% drop in their business would actually see them out of business. So it's very difficult for the communities to gather that research. I can absolutely assure you that none of the big boys, the big turbine developers, have actually conducted any form of micro-impact assessment. They'd all do it at a macro level. But I think if you're the business who's underneath the wind turbines, your business will suffer dramatically. There's a lady at the back with her hand up there. She's either want to go. Oh, I think we've had you. Is there someone else? Sorry, there's someone else. I think we've got time for about one more question. No, well we'll go straight back to Sylvia. Then Sylvia has another question. Sorry, Sarah, making you walk for a living here. And then we'll say a few thank yous and we'll get off to lunch. Do you want to nip off and put the cooker on now?
Hopefully Chef's done that.
I don't really understand why Carmarthenshire and Pembrokeshire and everybody has these separate policy and separate departments for tourism. I find it's very hard for people to understand that they have to ask different people for different parts of Wales. Wales is very big. And for my business, it's very awkward. I'm 2 miles from the border of Pembrokeshire and very far from some part of Carmarthenshire. So when I advertise, I slip myself into Pembrokeshire and then explain to people I'm just new. But I would like to ask if our two people there would find it a disadvantage that Wales is so split up and it's hard to understand where what is when people look.
I don't know if, I think somehow that microphone's been switched off, Sylvia, there, but I think the essence is we're kind of fragmented, and what do the two experts, up to the inverted commas, think about the sort of fragmentation of tourism in Wales?
Well, from a commercial point of view, before I worked for TripAdvisor, I worked for a company called Avivo, and I think that was mentioned, so I'm a little bit of an advantage that Wales was one of the territories that I looked after, so I do understand the geography. I could probably, don't test me now, but I can name all the counties. I have the fragmentation has done two things really. I'm going to sit on the fence here. One has made it quite difficult to figure out who to speak to. But once you've established that, if there's 3 or 4 different local tourism boards, I guess it opens up the opportunity. It gives you a chance to go back in. I think that the geography of Wales is quite complicated from the outside looking in, and the fragmentation must be very frustrating from members of regional tourist boards or destination marketing organisations, having to kind of put a bit in the pot over here and a bit over there. I know that, and again, I don't want to be controversial here, but it's been very difficult from a technology point of view when you've had regions that have been using one system at one tourist board and the next door neighbours are using another one and they don't talk to each other. So it's, from the outside looking in, it's been a bit of a mess for a long time.
I can absolutely understand that back office functions are extremely inconvenient when you do have these seemingly arbitrary divisions. From a tourist point of view, I think it's that fragmentation is either a good thing or a neutral thing. It's a good thing that the UK is fragmented, if you will, into Wales, England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, because that enables each of those constituent countries to construct a brand within it. And it's where there is an overlap between a geographical location and a particular term, that's when you get benefits. So Pembrokeshire is a brand, which is no doubt why, and I'll be checking the map later, you've snuck from Ceredigion into Pembrokeshire. Snowdonia, fantastic brand for North Wales, wherever that is. But you try and work out which county Snowdonia is, your brain will explode. It's one of those things where people don't care what it's called, they don't care where exactly the border is between Pembrokeshire and Carmarthenshire. All they care about is, I'm going to a beautiful resort, I'm going to Pendine Sands, I'm going to Loch Arn to go on the trail of Dylan Thomas. Those are the sorts of things that people care about. They don't care where the boundaries are and what problems it causes, I'm afraid, for you and also for my good friend Alistair. And I hope we haven't caused you too many problems this morning.
For the record, Isle of Anglesey and Conwy.
Well, thank you very much indeed for those questions and for playing nice. I bet you didn't think you were going. We've got elastoplast, we've got first responders, etc. already for us. Thank you so much for your